that the Prophet Muhammad loved Ayesha, usually slightly more than the other wives. They used to feel like he is a little more favorable to them. I told you last week the incident of Hafsa switching her hawdaj with Ayesha, and then she eventually realized, what did I do? I know the Prophet would have come to me if I would not have switched. So other wives of the Rasulullah and the Sahaba used to feel like the Prophet Muhammad is a little more discounting or a little more inclined toward Ayesha. And so the other Sahaba, not the Rasulullah, the Prophet Muhammad used to do justice with his wives. But other Sahaba, when they had to gift something to the Rasulullah, they used to pick the day of Ayesha to gift. Is this Rasulullah's fault that the Sahaba are picking the day of Ayesha and gifting her and gifting him? No, but you can imagine what our other mothers will feel. And so the rest of the wives of the Rasulullah then decided to do something about it. And so they go to Fatima, the beloved daughter of the Rasulullah, the one of the four women whose iman is perfected. Prophet Muhammad says these are the four women whose iman is perfected. Says that many are the men whose iman is perfected. That is the Prophet. There's so many prophets who have been perfected. But in the women, these four. Number one, Maryam alayhi salam. Number two, Asiya, the wife of Fir'aun. Number three, the wife of the Rasulullah, Khadija, and number four, Fatima, the daughter of the Rasulullah. Their iman is perfected. So they say to Fatima, you go on our behalf to the Rasulullah and tell them that let's do justice or whatever. Fatima comes to Rasulullah and says, Rasulullah, your wives are complaining about justice. Now pause here for a second and understand, if somebody who has no idea about hadith, no idea about the context, no idea about the history, he just reads this, Ya Rasulullah, the wives are complaining about justice, and somebody presents this on YouTube or something, look, complaining about justice, your Prophet, astaghfirullah. Understand the context. That's why it's important to know the background of the hadith, and people just go literally and just understand. The justice she's referring to is other Sahaba gifts on the day of Ayesha, and the other wives don't like. And so they are complaining to me that I should go to you and tell you that, everybody should be gifted. Now, think from the perspective of the Rasulullah. Is he supposed to go to Sahaba and say, guys, you should not be giving gifts, or you should not pick Ayesha, or it's up to the person what he wants to do, right? So we can understand the perspective of our mothers, but we also have to understand the perspective of the Sahaba and the Rasulullah. They choose they're doing everything that is halal. So Fatima puts this complaint, so-called complaint, to the Rasulullah, and the Prophet says, do you love the one that I love? She says, yes, Ya Rasulullah, of course, my father. Then he says, then love this lady, Ayesha. He points to Ayesha and says, love this lady. If you love the one I love, then love this lady. So she accepts it. Okay, done. And she goes back to the other mothers and she says, this is what the Prophet said in the story. But our other mothers did not find it satisfying enough. They were not satiated by this. So they were like, you did not try hard enough. Okay, plan B. So they then go to Zainab bint Jahash. Zainab bint Jahash was the main competitor of Ayesha in the other camp. When Ayesha was asked, who did the Rasulullah love the most? She said, I never asked this question to the Rasulullah, but I always thought that after me, it was most likely Zainab bint Jahash and Salama. Those were the main competitors. So Zainab bint Jahash goes, and please understand, Zainab bint Jahash, she can get angry, and that was one of her things that Ayesha herself said her anger was rather sudden, and so sometimes it has been to trouble. Okay, so she goes and she picks a day when Ayesha was there in the house. So she goes to the house of Rasulullah, Ayesha's house, and she directly goes and talks, and she starts charging up, and she's saying that Ayesha does this and you are doing this and this is this, and the Rasulullah is lying down and listening. Ayesha is standing in the kitchen and Zainab bint Jahash is presenting the case, and the Rasulullah is listening to them, and she's going and she's standing next to the Rasulullah, and Ayesha is busy doing whatever she's doing, and she's not liking this behavior and she's tolerating it. She's waiting for her to finish. So as Zainab bint Jahash keeps going and she's this and she's doing this and you're doing this, she's looking at it, getting angry, and she looks at the Rasulullah as if she's asking permission. Can I talk back? And she's describing this, and she's describing in her older age. You see, Zainab bint Jahash will be the first wife to pass away after the death of Rasulullah. The Prophet was asked, who's the one who's going to follow you, Rasulullah? He said, the one with the longest arm, the one with the most charity, and that was Zainab bint Jahash. Anyway, so Ayesha is getting angry, and she's looking at the Rasulullah, can I talk back? Because this is getting out of hand. And so he gives the ishara, yeah, you can speak. The wives are speaking to each other, that's fine, you can speak. So now Ayesha begins, and she's very eloquent. She's the daughter of Abu Bakr Siddiq. And then she charges up, and then she talks back. And she says, this, as for this is this, as for this, whatever they had conversations about. To the point where Zainab bint Jahash, who was right now, like literally yelling in front of the Rasulullah, now she goes behind the Rasulullah for protection from Ayesha. Like she's literally now be like, oh, that's too much. I did not know that's the reaction I'm going to get. And then she's looking now at the Rasulullah, Zainab bint Jahash, that defend me. Say something. She's not saying this, but she's now looking at look at what she's doing. So Rasulullah looks at her and says, Haza bint Siddiqa. She's the daughter of Siddiqa. The eloquent Abu Bakr. She's the daughter of Abu Bakr. So her language style is like that. What can I do? But anyway, this was the back and forth that happened between our mothers. Zainab bint Jahash goes back. Now the wives of the Rasulullah, they may go for plan C. What is plan C? Let us send the balanced one, Salama, the wife that is known for being balanced. So Salama goes to the Rasulullah after some time. When Salama presents the case, Prophet Muhammad now says, don't bother me about Ayesha anymore. For wallahi, even Allah reveals revelation only in her house, in her bed. Like, this is not just me. Even Allah is the one who's revealing only when I'm in her bed. And the Sahaba, if they're doing what they're doing, they're doing. And so it is not fair for someone else to criticize A'udhu or point fingers to Ayesha when she's not responsible. If somebody loves her, somebody loves her. Like, why is she being held responsible for anything? So that's the story.